Hey guys, it's Dazzy again. I'm going to do my review of Principal for a Day, which is season 2, episode 19 of Schooled. I just want to start off by saying this episode left me with some really good feels and some not so good feels. So just going to say that to begin with, so be prepared. First off, I'm going to address the Rick and Julie storyline because it was just so amazing. I mean, I love Rick and Julie. I have to start with that one storyline first because I got lots to say about the CB one, and I'll get to that one later. But Rick and Julie are just the cutest. If you haven't heard me say that before, the two of them are just so sweet, and they're definitely my favorite, my second favorite ship on this show. And I also just love Rick. He's probably my second favorite character other than CB on this show, and I do admit I have a slight crush on him and his too tight shorts. I also stalk Brian Callen on Instagram, so don't let him know. Okay, but anyhow, I saw on Instagram via my friend Lainey Likes CB on Tumblr. She messaged me and said that Valerie Aslin, who plays Julie, her last episode of the season was this past week on Principal for a Day, and I was so worried that something was going to go down between Rick and Julie, and I hope nothing was going to happen to cause them to break up. And that really worried me when I was going into the episode, but all my fears were squashed, which made me so happy. And I love how Wilma, is the voice of reason for these characters. And I say, and they're kind of like, they're almost pathetic in a way. She has to kind of, bring them out back into reality sometimes. But she tells Rick that he's stuck in a rut with Julie and needs to take her out more instead of staying at home all the time. And Rick's like, well, the rut's a good thing. That means their relationship's going great and there's no kinks to iron out. But Wilma says, well, if you can't do it, then she may look for someone else who can. And I couldn't help compare that to Barry and Lainey's situation because he's not physically there to help their relationship grow. So I'm wondering if that's not going to come up sooner or later as an issue for Lainey. So we'll see. But I love the look on Rick's face when he finds out that Julie's study partner, Leslie, for a nursing exam is actually a guy. And I knew from the promo stills that Wilma was probably going to have a thing for this friend of Julie's. And I love when he came in and Rick's like, "Oh, you're a boy," and she goes, "Oh, he's all man." I just love Wilma because she speaks what's on my mind constantly. I just love when she says Leslie's probably played on the Skins team in high school because she says, in fact, she's imagining it right now. And when Julie says she's going to have to skip their watching of Nash Bridges because she and Leslie are going to go study anatomy, Wilma says she's about to free mount Leslie, which I thought was free solo mount Leslie, which I almost died. That was just hilarious. I love Wilma. She's totally the character I identify most with on the show. She speaks my innermost thoughts and wants everyone to get it on secretly. And she's totally a CB Laney stan. I mean, totally. I mean, she totally wants them to get together, and a Rick and Julie stan too. But I kind of ship her with Johnny Atkins a little bit because I've said that before. And I even put that in one of my fics because the night, if you want to check that one out, but it doesn't have any scenes between them because it's all focused on CB and Lainey. But I did put them together in one of my fics. But anyway, I totally think Julie said the part about them studying anatomy on purpose just to kind of get a rise out of Rick, but maybe I'm totally wrong on that. But I think it's funny that Rick shows up at Julie's house later during Julie and Leslie's study session, and he wants to sweep her away on a trip around the world, which, he tries so hard, to make Julie, he's just very jealous, and he wants, really wants to make Julie happy. And we learned that Leslie's going to put in a good word for her to get a better job at the hospital instead of at school. And Rick is all worried that Leslie's going to steal her away from him. So he comes up with this little scheme of a basketball game between them. And I love how Wilma just jumps in and referees. And she suggests that Leslie take off his shirt so they can know which team they're on. So once again, she's speaking what I would say, totally what I would say. Rick just totally dominates Leslie in the game, and then Julie comes in and she's a little confused about what's going on, but she agrees to stay and watch. And we see Leslie save Tom Scott from choking on his gum, which impresses everyone in the crowd. And Rick's a little upset that he stole his thunder. I think Rick's ego can get in the way a lot of times. And Julie sees right through him and says he's just jealous of Leslie. And Rick said he's afraid he's going to lose her because they're stuck in a rut, which, kind of broke my heart. Um, but later we see Rick eating ice cream again, like in the Titanic Love episode, when he's stressed about possibly losing to Germantown again. It's just so funny that his comfort food is ice cream. It's almost like he's like that stereotypical thing that women eat ice cream when they're feeling stressed or sad. And he says, not even the confetti sprinkles can brighten the darkness he feels inside. Rick just cracks me up. Oh, I love him. Julie tells Rick that Leslie is just a friend and that's all he's ever been. And she tells him she never planned on leaving Rick, even though she wants a better job someday away from the school. And Rick's afraid they won't get to see each other as much if she does have to take this job. So Julie kind of suggests that they move in together, which, let me tell you, I squealed so loudly when she said that, and I clapped my hands. I was just so excited because I was scared that they were going to break up in this episode because, what the actress who plays Julie said on Instagram, that it was her last episode of the season. So I was really worried, but I'm so glad that wasn't the case. Now I definitely know that they're going to get married soon. So I'm so excited for them. I'm just so happy. And Rick was so flabbergasted that he couldn't even form words. It was just so cute. Oh, they are just so adorable. I would like to say, that these two, I think, have had a really, really good, I really enjoyed watching their relationship on this show. And they've had such great relationship development in this season. And I love how it shows them conquering the normal fears and problems that couples face. And they've pushed through them and come out better individuals because of it. And we really don't see that happening with a lot of there really isn't much other couples on there besides Barry and Lainey, but we don't really get to see that relationship developing because they're so far away and they don't get to see each other as often, which I think can be kind of detrimental. And like Wilma said, it can be a barrier to help the relationship grow. So, but I'll digress from that. Back to Rick and Julie, though, I seriously think they've gotten stronger these past few episodes that dealt with their relationship. And I'm so stoked going forward into the next season, which I hope they get renewed for a third season. And I don't know when they're, going to be able to film it either or shoot it. So that's kind of up in the air right now, but we'll see. But I'm very, very excited for Rick and Julie. Plus, they are just too cute together. They're just so sweet. Now, moving on to CB being principal for the day. I just have to say, first off, that CB is just so cute in the beginning of this episode. The way he gets so excited over being chosen by Glasgow to take over for him while he's out having surgery. I just could not fight the smile on my face the whole time. He's just so cute. I love him. And Lainey's not having it. She's like, relax, Miss America. It's a couple days. I just love their banter and how she constantly tries to keep him grounded and in check. And can you just imagine them as a couple? Oh my gosh, it would just be so good to watch them together as a couple. Oh my gosh, it would just add such a great dynamic to the show. I think they really need it. And then we see him doing the morning announcement. He's making all these sound effects and jokes. He's just so cute. He even wears the sweater vest to look more like John, which we know he looks up to John a lot. And I love it. I do want to point out, though, that CB didn't really like sweater vests in the femaler episode, so I'm not sure why he's wearing one, but maybe he's just wearing one to be more like John. So that could be kind of like a little nod to him there. Then we see him he's going down the hall, he's giving high fives, and my principal does that a lot. But now it's cool to do fist bumps instead. And he runs into the Pinkies, which is supposedly a mean girl group at William Penn with Marnie, Gina, and Jessica. And Jeannie tries to get him to give her locker combinations so she can slip invitations to her birthday party into their lockers. And he agrees to it, which I knew he would have some kind of moment when he would be like a total pushover and try to do anything to please the students. So that kind of met my expectation there. I knew he was going to have some kind of moment where the kids were going to try to push him over a little bit, which he did. They did have that kind of moment. I was watching the Rock for Jocks episode the other day, and I was wondering, if we were ever going to see Gina again. And so we finally got to see her again in this episode. She's in the Rock for Jocks episode when she runs against Felicia for class president. So that was kind of a nice surprise to see her again. I'm actually surprised that Jessica is a part of the Mean Girls group because she always seems kind of like a nerdy, sweet kid to me. So I'm not sure, why she would be in the Mean Girl group, but maybe she's kind of like Lainey, who was kind of nerdy, earlier in her school career and then became kind of a mean girl later. But I don't want that for Jessica because she's such a sweet little girl, such a sweet character. But Lainey comes up and tells him that it's all a ruse to leave other kids out and make them feel terrible that they weren't invited to the party. So she also says that he could use her help to deal with them, but he thinks he's just trying to take over part of her job, that she's jealous that she wasn't chosen to take on the job. And of course, she doesn't care about all that stuff. Secretly, I just think she knows CB is the right person for the job, but he still needs her at times to help deal with things that he doesn't know much about. And remember in the garden party episode when she said that he always sees the good in people? I think that's what she's trying to help him with now because he just doesn't see the bad side of the situation at the time. And I love how he tells her to get her caboose to class. That's so cute. And part of me is like, he mentioned her caboose, guys. Woo! It's progress. Progress, any little bit helps, But seriously, I did not like CB's attitude toward her. And maybe it's just his ego coming into play here, but it's almost as if he's regressed since the garden party episode. And I thought that was such a great episode to show his growth. In that episode where Lainey offered him advice regarding Weasel's dad and he didn't take it and he ended up getting hurt. And you think he would learn from that and learn to heed her advice from now on. But, it just felt like a regression, like he didn't learn from that experience at all. But my friend Kim on Twitter said he's probably trying not to lean on her as much too, which could be the case. And part of me is thinking he's bitter, about the unrequited crush that he had on her, and maybe he's trying to push her away somewhat subconsciously. But I could be reading too much into that. But Maddie, another friend on Twitter, also said that maybe it's going to lead up to something, like it's all building up to something good, and that maybe there'll be some kind of payoff later with the two of them. So we'll see, I guess. Maybe she confronts him about his behavior and they have a good heart-to-heart, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Later, we see that CB has a plan to get the Pinkies to come back together, and he shows them like a little slideshow of their memories. But Lainey thinks, the best way is to start a rumor about a party in Germantown to make Gina invite everyone in fear that they may go to that party instead. But he just completely blows her off and even insults her, saying that it's above her pay grade. And that just made me so mad. I just can't believe that that's the same, CB that we love and cherish. He almost seemed like he wasn't himself. It was very out of character for him. And like I said, it just seems like he's regressed in this episode. And I'm not quite sure what's going on in him, but maybe it'll all come to a head later. Maybe we'll see what his true beef is, why he's acting that way. I'm hoping we'll see that later. Anyway, he tells the Mean Girls that he's going to turn back time. And I thought of my fake good riddance right at that part because it's a little scenario that I wrote where CB goes back in time. And that just made me fangirl a little bit when he said he was going to turn back time. Plus, he also pulls out the Swanee boombox that Lainey gave him from the Friendsgiving episode, which I love so much from other videos. I've said it before. He gave her the Beanie Baby at Christmas time through Barry. And I know she knows that the CB is the one who bought it for her. And she gave him the boombox. It's kind of like their friendship bracelets. Don't judge. I find happiness in the small things, guys. But I love when he pulls out the Swanee boombox because it just reminds me of their friendship, and I love it. But his whole plan, backfires with the Pinkies and even creates a bigger rift between them, and they end up hating each other even more. And Lainey tries to make CB see her way again, and he tells her not to undermine him because she's just the teacher and he's the principal. And John entrusted him, with that responsibility, why he may or may not have survived the surgery. And he almost seems, a little upset after he says that. Like his voice cracks a little and he looks like he's about to cry. But so maybe he's worried that he's not going to live up to the expectations that John has set forth for him. And he's also worried about John and his surgery too, which maybe he's also afraid of failing again. And that kind of broke my heart there because, CB is just an amazing person. And he would definitely do a great job at anything he tries to do. And I kind of teared up there because I just love his character so much, and I hate to see him like that. I hate to see him act that way toward Lainey. But he realizes his plan, didn't work out the way he thought it was going to. And he does that little thing where he goes, pinkies for life. And Lainey tells him to put his pinky away and swats his hand. And I just love that she keeps him in check. He's clearly over his head, and she's just trying to help. And, when when she reached up and grabbed his hand like that, I'm like, oh, they held hands for like 2 seconds. It's the small things. But anyway, later we see CB and Lainey on the phone with John, and John's upset that he's been getting calls from parents to complain about what's going down since he's been out. And Johnny Atkins comes in and says there's been a food fight in the cafeteria because of the Mean Girls. And CB assures him that nothing to worry about. He's going to use the puppets on him. And I'm like, oh, CB, you were so completely clueless, buddy. But John tells him that he doesn't have permission to go in his puppet drawer, which just made me laugh. But, and I love that John says it could all have been a result with a rumor about a competing party. And Lainey's like, I've been saying that all along, And CB didn't really listen to her about that. But so John appoints Lainey the new principal, and CB gets all bent out of shape over it, saying, he's got everything she's ever wanted. And part of me thinks, back to the unrequited crush theory, that Lainey gets everything she wants, but he doesn't, i.e. her in a way. And I just could be reading into it, but you never know. He also says, she's just like those mean girls, and really she's not. She's just trying to help him. And we know CB was bullied in high school, from previous episodes, which may be where this is coming from. I did not like his attitude toward her at all, though. I really didn't like it. I mean, it could be, build up tension that could be a better payoff later. So we'll have to see. But I just really did not like his attitude toward her. But, we see then Johnny, Coop, and CB are in the teacher's lounge. They're having a little party, and Lainey's not invited to, apparently. And it's almost like he's trying to get back at her for taking over his job, which is so childish. And like I said, does not seem like the CB we love. So I'm wondering who wrote this episode, because I'm just not sure what's going on here. I'm very confused as to why he would do that and not be proud of Lainey. But, it could be built up attention. Again, it could be, something, he's got some kind of grudge building there, but we'll see. She tells John when John comes in, that CB actually helped her start a rumor about the Germantown party, which kind of confused me because they never really showed that they agreed to that, or at least they didn't on camera. And I'm also wondering, did she just say that to make CB look good in front of John? So, well, I'm not really sure about that because they never did show that. So, that gives me a big question mark there. I'm confused a little bit. But then John said at least they got to work together. And I'm like, did they though? But it did make me sort of happy that they resolved their issue, even though we didn't really get to see much of it. It was almost as if it was magically resolved somehow. CB did give all the credit to Lainey, which I thought was very sweet, and it kind of made up for how he treated her in this episode. We do learn that CB has aspirations to become principal, which is great. And maybe we'll get to see something like that in the future. Maybe that's why he reacted so strongly to John giving the reins over to Lainey, because he thought, he wasn't successful at that. And that kind of, broke my heart a little bit. And John tells him that he needs help from others, and that's what makes a great leader. And Lainey chimes in saying just so he knows, she was on his side the whole time. There's no one that can inspire the whole school the way he does, and the way he looks at her. It's almost as if he's lost for words, which is just so sweet. And I've noticed that Lainey's been complimenting him a lot lately, like in the garden party episode when she tells him what an amazing person he is, that he always sees the best in people. And then, she said that there's no one that can inspire the whole school the way he does. So she's complimenting him a lot later, which, gives me huge, heart eyes, because, I really love that she's helping him become a better person in this part of the season. Like he helped her in the first part of the season. Now she's helping him. It's kind of cool that that's happening. He then hands her, a plate of cheese, and she mouths the word thank you. And that just melted me into a pile of goo. That little exchange they had. I love that no matter how terrible, they treat each other, they always make up somehow, and it makes them stronger. And I just love these two so much, you guys. I'm just hoping that Lainey will develop some sort of feelings for him later, and maybe she already is. And some of my friends on Twitter were saying they hope they have some kind of throwdown fight and they end up kissing or, or making out at the end, which would be so amazing. Oh, that would just be, yeah, totally open for that one. Another thing about this episode, which is kind of fun, is the song choice that they made for the ending, which is "Hold My Hand" for Hootie and the Blowfish, which is my homeboys from South Carolina. I don't think I've ever said this, but I'm originally from South Carolina, and Darius Rucker and the rest of the guys are from there too. And we actually heard "Hold My Hand" way before you guys did in the 90s. It was all over the local radio stations there. And then it just kind of exploded into the mainstream, and we were all tired of it by then when it got really popular. And I just want to point out, when my mom first heard that song, she thought they were saying "roll my hair" for the longest time, which if you sing it that way, it totally sounds like that's what they're saying if you sing it along with them. And fun fact, Darius Rucker, who's the lead singer of Hootie and the Blowfish, does a lot of country stuff now, and he actually shot one of his country videos in my hometown and at my college a few years ago, so that was kind of awesome. And something else I want to add about this song choice is the fact that when Lainey tells CB to put his pinky down in that one scene, they held hands, so I'm like, hey, hold my hand. Just another scene where I insert my own wishful thinking, into these things. At the end of the episode, Lainey says in the voiceover, I really like what she said. She said, life can throw a lot of changes our way, and sometimes those changes make us feel insecure and we second guess ourselves. And that's why if you stay true to who you are, those insecurities will fade away. And if you keep an open mind, you'll find your friendships will flourish more than ever. And who knows, you might even discover a new one in the process, or learn a lesson and make an improvement in the one that you already have and cherish with all your heart. So that kind of really hit home there. I thought was really good. And they also show a montage of CB. They show a montage of CB helping John revamp the morning announcements. And then Leslie and Rick play basketball. And then Rick and Julie go to see Rent. Kind of disappointed they didn't show, some kind of making up between CB and Lainey. Like maybe she leaves him a little note or a little stuffed bear, some kind of little sweet gesture, something that says number one teacher or future boss or something like that would have been really cute, but it would have fit so perfectly. But anyway, again, me inserting my own wishful thinking. But overall, I think the episode was really good. I absolutely loved Rick and Julie's storyline. I love the fact that John chose CB to be the interim principal while I was gone, because I just think he would be the best choice for that. And I love the banter between CB and Lainey in certain parts, but still, I wasn't too keen on the way he treated her. And like I said, and like she said in the voiceover at the end, maybe his insecurities were creeping in again. And she just reminded him that maybe he does need help sometimes. And when he can't handle certain situations, it's like in the Moving On episode, CB told Wilma that things outside teaching are not a guaranteed win for him. And you guys all know that broke my heart, because part of that stemmed from his unrequited crush on Lainey. And like I said before, I think his attitude toward her is the way it is. Maybe it's just because he's bitter toward her about it. And, maybe it could be leading up to something. But I'm looking forward to next week's episode, even though I'm completely stressed out about it, completely stressed. And we know that CB develops a thing for the environmental consultant, Paloma, for Earth Day. And if you haven't watched my reaction video to the promo stills, then you might want to check that one out, because they go into, all my theories about the episode. The episode's called CB Saves the Planet, and I'm hoping that this girl does not deceive him, because this will only push my point I made earlier about CB not always winning, outside of teaching. And that would just crush me, if he gets hurt by somebody else. But part of me is thinking, if he does get hurt by this girl, maybe he'll go to Lainey and they'll have some kind of moment, I don't know. I've also said that, I want her to see him with Paloma, and maybe that can get her wheels turning, maybe I made a mistake, maybe CB is the one for me, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not going to go on and on about the next episode, because I already did in my other videos. So if you want to hear my rant about that, you can check that video out. But I hope you enjoyed my little review. If you have any comments or questions you want me to answer, just put them in the comments or message me on Tumblr and Twitter. My links are all down there. I'll be happy to answer them. And I hope you're staying safe. And thank you. And I'll see you next week after CB Saves the Planet. Bye for now. Bye.